Walpole Film Festival started in 2003 as one of the first high school film festivals in the country. The program has been recognized nationally as a model for creativity and collaboration in the classroom. Students in the program are required to follow each step in modern independent digital filmmaking. This includes screenwriting, acting, art direction, shooting on digital cameras, editing on professional software, and composing original music. The festival culminates each year with a red carpet ceremony that celebrates the achievements of each crew. To learn more about this year's Walpole Film Festival and how to become a sponsor, please visit our website, walpolefilmfestival.com. Thank you and enjoy the movie.
Cystic fibrosis is...
Cystic fibrosis.
Cystic fibrosis.
Cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis.
Cystic fibrosis.
Cystic fibrosis is like a pain. It fills your lungs and basically your whole body up with mucus and makes you all sick.
To me, cystic fibrosis is a chronic disease that slowly damages the lungs and the digestive system, which makes it hard to breathe a lot.
A genetic, life-threatening lung disease that affects mostly my lungs and my digestive system.
Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder that is passed down when both mother and father carry the recessive gene, and it is something that affects the pancreas and the lungs primarily. It affects the water and salt content in the body and affecting enzymes and the way that the enzymes are absorbed in your body in order for a person to basically absorb food and nutrients.
And it primarily affects a gene that leads to changes in a protein that helps your body regulate the amount of salt and water across cells. And when this protein doesn't work very well in people with cystic fibrosis, the salt balance around the cells is not great. And so what happens is there's thick mucus, and that thicker mucus can happen in your lungs, in your sinuses, in your intestinal tract, and in other parts of your body. And that thick mucus can lead to some of the symptoms and problems that we deal with when we're treating people with cystic fibrosis.
It limits the ability to breathe and shortens lives. It causes your skin to be salty, persistent coughing, lung infections, poor weight gain and growth. It's ultimately like breathing through a straw.
Our CF program at Children's Hospital is one of the largest CF programs here in New England. We ask that kids with CF come to our clinic 3 to 4 times a year regularly, so we actually end up seeing them often more than their pediatricians do. And we're doing that because we really want to monitor their growth and nutrition, their lung function, whether they have any other new infections or symptoms, and if there are any changes, to really be careful about being aggressive in terms of managing their complications.
Christopher was born in the fall of 1973 and diagnosed in April 1974. The time my son was diagnosed, the life expectancy of a child with cystic fibrosis was 18 years of age.
Cystic fibrosis was a disease that I had never heard about, but when I was 15 years old, a friend of a friend started coming to Johnson Middle School in 7th grade, and he had cystic fibrosis.
When Chris would go to the hospital, they were called cleanouts at the time. Maybe they still are. What that consisted of was IV antibiotics, extensive physical therapy, lung function tests, blood test, chest x-rays. Children's Hospital had a unit at the time that was specifically devoted to their cystic fibrosis patients.
That the cystic fibrosis kids had each other. They had a good support system with the medical staff. But it was also important for us as family and for Chris's friends to visit as much as possible. They need their friends and family around because it's hard. It's hard for them to comprehend what's happening, because as much as they supported each other and created great friendships with each other on that floor, you also, as my mom mentioned, as they got older, you would see friends pass away too.
And even during the day, the hospital day, they would go from room to room if they were ambulatory and visit with each other, talk about their disease. Although this was helpful to them, it turns out later that they were in fact cross-infecting each other.
There is bacteria that can be transferred from cystic fibrosis patients to other patients with cystic fibrosis. With the discovery of this, it became very clear that people with cystic fibrosis could not share the same space with another person with cystic fibrosis.
New protocols for today's patients would indicate that they would not associate with each other. And because of that, the life expectancy and the quality of life will be much greater for today's patients than it was for the time when Christopher was a patient at the hospital.
In Chris's later years, getting on the transplant list was a consideration. It's a very difficult decision to get on that list and go through a transplant, because the average lifespan after a transplant is about 5 years. You're getting close to facing the end and making decisions about how to get more time, how to get more tomorrows.
It affected me personally by making me think about what life was, how short it could be. I think it made me a better mother. I wanted to, as much as I loved all my children, very, very much, I think I took special care to tell them that I loved them every day. That was a very, very important part to me.
You did a good job of that, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Walpole High School is unique in regards to our students with CF because we have 3 students with cystic fibrosis, and that is pretty much unheard of. In my research of trying to plan for the students here at Walpole High School, it became very clear that it's rare to have 3 students under one roof and in one school.
So we're not supposed to go near each other because the germs that we all have, if we pass it on to each other, it can make us really ill, and yeah, it's just easily spreadable.
It would be bad if we ran into each other because we'd cross-contaminate each other, obviously, and we'd I think all 3 of us would get really sick and could possibly pass away.
So there are certain bacteria that are very specific to cystic fibrosis patients that don't affect people without cystic fibrosis. There's a long list of different ones. The most common that we are concerned with is something called Pseudomonas. We use antibiotics targeted to treat these bacteria on a regular basis, but we also encourage people with cystic fibrosis to not be in the same place so that they don't contaminate or share bacteria that can be transmitted by one person with CF coughing and then another person with CF picking it up.
The studies show that these particular bacteria that are detrimental to CF patients, they show that a person with CF should never be within 6 feet of another person with CF.
I feel really safe with Nurse Jackson's schedule and like your planning, it does really help because I like never really see them at all. And like if I do, like I'll just give them like a smile or a wave in the hall.
Nurse Jackson has like made like a little plan for me and the other two kids with cystic fibrosis. Make sure like we don't like cross paths or anything or like encounter one another.
Nurse Jackson and the teachers have helped us immensely to stay safe. They make sure like our schedules are like kind of separated so I don't go into the same classroom as the other CF students.
When I had asked the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for some information, they said that there really was not a lot, but they were very intrigued with the fact that this was happening here at Walpole High School. So they had asked me to write an article about it for their website. It really got me to see the uniqueness of Walpole having 3 students when I was being contacted from people all over the United States and all over the world saying that, well, we have 2 students, but we can't even imagine what it would be like to have 3.
Cystic fibrosis does affect my daily activities. I have to take pills and stuff like that to like prevent me from getting a bellyache when eating. Outside of school, I usually hang out with like my friends, chill out at home, sleep, do like theater and stuff like that.
All right, what production are you in right now?
I'm in the production of Pippin. I'm ensemble. Time to run.
Inside of school, I'm very involved in student council. I'm on my executive board this year. And then I also play soccer and lacrosse. And then I also do club soccer outside of Walpole High School.
Inside of school, I do dance company. I'm part of that. And sometimes I get like short of breath and I have to like take a minute, but I'm usually fine.
Where are you right now?
I'm in the auditorium and it's typically like 3 days a week. It depends like what like small ensembles you're in. We start like November and we end in like April.
Is this your first dance co show or second?
This is my second year doing it.
Do you do dancing outside of dance company?
Yeah, I used to, but I recently quit due to like health issues this year. But I'm still with dance company.
Is CF ever like hard with dance co?
Sometimes it interferes, like if I'm like dancing like a ton, I'll like, it's kind of hard to breathe sometimes, but like I'm usually okay.
What do you like about dance co? Why do you do it?
I love like the dancing and like all the people in it and everything. So.
Thank you. I did my PFTs, which stands for pulmonary function test, and it tested the strength of how I breathe.
Awesome, and the next one. Get ready. Breathe in all the way. Go, 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 go. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing as far as you can. Nice job. Awesome.
Difference in like your PFT like level over the years?
Yes, I have.
Has it gone up or down or?
Yeah, I would say it's gone up, but sometimes it's gone down if I like have like a cold or something.
So the last time we were here was down, and he's been down real low before, but this is a little bit better than he was the last time.
Living with cystic fibrosis, probably like the hardest part about it, I don't know, just keeping up with literally everything you have to do.
The daily routine with keeping up with my meds and my treatment is like the hardest part about living with CF.
I have a big old tube that's on my stomach, and it feeds like protein into me. And when I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, I have to like take it off, like flush it with water so nothing gross or sticky like stays in there and it grows bacteria, and it's just a bad time for everyone.
Like I do my medical treatments about like once a day, and it takes like an hour and a half, so that definitely like does get really draining, especially after like a long day of school and me having like sports after school on top of like a lot of homework. So I'm usually going to bed at like 12 o'clock each night because I just have so much to do with my CF and schoolwork and sports. So I'm about to start my treatments that I do every day, and they usually take about an hour to an hour and a half. And first I take this, it's called albuterol, and it helps open up my airways. And I usually take it about like 15 minutes before I start all of my treatments. So I'm gonna take it.
What are you doing right now?
I'm doing my neb and vest.
Can you explain it for me?
So this takes me about like 25 minutes a day, and I do this after my 2 other nebulizers and my albuterol.
It like really like loosens up the mucus, which like makes it easier when I do my vest. That like shakes, and then I can either get it up or it just like clears it out.
This machine right here pumps air like super fast into these, which go in here, which inflate it, and it's weird. It's like a massage, but it's not.
This vest, the machine typically costs about like $18,000, which is very expensive, and but luckily we have like the insurance company to cover it. But like about like every month, like CF and like all of like the medications and treatments, they probably cost about like $8,000 to $10,000.
And then this thing, you squeeze one of these vials in here, and it turns it into medicine, and I breathe it in, and it softens the mucus in my lungs so I can cough it up, and that's why I have these.
Right now, unfortunately, there is no cure for cystic fibrosis. All the therapies that kids and adults with CF do treat the symptoms, like thick mucus or problems with digestion or infections. There are some new therapies that are being developed and studied in research studies to target the genetic defects in cystic fibrosis. So there are right now 2 medications that have been approved in the United States recently. The most recent was Orkambi, which is one of the medications that Jimmy is taking, that targets the protein itself or the genetic basis of the disease. And that's only been around since 2015.
The research that's being done is huge. I would say that cystic fibrosis is probably one of the most researched diseases out there. The treatments that they have come such a long way. I really feel that a cure will be found.
The future of people with CF is looking brighter than ever. We expect around 90% of people with CF to have a disease-modifying modular treatment by 2020. We continue to pursue treatments for people with CF who can't benefit solely on modulators. New approaches include gene editing, gene therapy, and mRNA therapy. The mission of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is to find a cure for all people with the disease and provide them the opportunity to lead full and productive lives by funding research and drug development, promoting individualized treatment, and ensuring access to high-quality specialized care. Great Strides is our largest national fundraiser. There's 400 walks and over 125,000 participants nationwide. The CF community overall is just so unbelievable and welcoming, and it exemplifies an immense amount of kindness and support. And today, along with my colleagues, we're searching for a cure and fighting for those with CF. We want CF to stand for Cure Found.
I haven't really thought about what I'm going to do after high school. I mean, I kind of want to go into like design for like animations and stuff like that, but I haven't really thought about it.
Do you think having cystic fibrosis will affect what you do after high school?
No, I don't think it'll affect what I do ever.
What do you plan on doing after high school?
I hope to go to like college and just like do what everyone else does after.
I hope to go to college, probably in like maybe Massachusetts or like in the New England area, because it'll probably be like very tough if I try to go like out of New England, and just because like Boston has like really good like medical centers. So I'll probably try to go to college for 4 years and maybe do something in like the science field, because that's really interesting to me.
Jimmy, do you ever like wish you knew Sarah and Deirdre?
You know, I always feel like I kind of know them.
Even though you've never met?
Yeah.
Cool.
I've thought about it. Like, I could imagine my life without CF, but like, I wouldn't be like me without it, so.
The hardest part is definitely not like being like your normal like teenager.
Forget I have it sometimes, but then like randomly just pops in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I have CF and it stinks.
Every once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, I have cystic fibrosis, and that just kind of, you know, lingers on me.
It's pretty tough. Like, I get pretty depressed about it sometimes. Like, it's every now and then. Like, it's really hard. I'm not in school a lot. Like, a lot of people like know that. Like, I miss school like all the time. So I have a lot of makeup work to do, and I also am like hospitalized a lot, which is also pretty tough. So
Sometimes get like a little like almost like embarrassing or uncomfortable because I just can't really like fit in with everyone.
If I had the ability to get rid of CF, I would definitely get rid of it in a heartbeat.
the daily routine with keeping up with my meds and my treatment is like the hardest part about living with CF.
It's a very stressful situation for someone to just be a teenager, never mind be a teenager with a life-limiting disease.
I had a sinus infection maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and so that was just like an overnight hospital visit.
I've been hospitalized 1 or 2 times a year, usually every year.
I've actually had I think about 10 surgeries, maybe more, maybe. I'm not really sure.
But I mean, you honestly wouldn't even know it by just looking at me. So I really like that, how it doesn't change what I look like or who I am.
Overall, preparing for the 3 students here at Walpole High School has been time-consuming, but also very rewarding. I always love a challenge, and I never go into something halfway. If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. So taking these plans and putting them in place and taking it to the extreme that I've done has been really interesting, rewarding, and when a parent can turn around and say to you that they are so grateful that you're keeping their child safe and they don't worry about them when they're here at school, it's definitely makes it all worth it. It makes all of the hard work and everything that you've done worth it. So I think that's been kind of cool.
I just want to say thank you, Nurse Jackson, for really putting a lot of time and effort to help me and everyone else stay safe, because if it wasn't for you, I definitely would not be as healthy as I am right now, because you have invested a lot of time and I really appreciate it.
I just wanted to tell Ms. Jackson I'm really thankful for everything she's done for me and the other students with CF. She's helped me a lot this year and last year, but especially this year since I've been hospitalized a lot, and just helping me get everything together.
I just want to say thank you, Nurse Jackson, for your help with all of this, for making this happen. Stay cool.
This disease, as I was telling you earlier, peers and friendship and is so important. Often our families and our young adults feel isolated, and friendships and peers and relationships are extremely important. So keep up those relationships and keep your friends, let them know about what's going on with you. They're part of your community, and as you get older, you need that support.